Wait, hold on. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. We're doing this thing. Am I allowed to curse on this thing or no?
This is Counterintelligence. Stories about the world of delis and its cast of characters that make it up.
You know, the deli, to me, has been my universe since the creation, I guess, of me, Ziggy.
Ziggy Gruber has been in the deli business for over 30 years, since he was a child. With more and more delis closing every year, he offers a window into an odd but entertaining world of another generation.
The knives are clanging, everything's going up like this. I don't want to get in the middle because, frankly, I don't want to be circumcised again.
If you've ever been to a deli, you know that apart from the food, one of the best things about the experience is when the owner comes by your table to check in with you. It's almost always a show, getting to hear from the patriarch of the restaurant all the history, the mythology, the crazy stories he serves up like a side dish to complement the meal.
It was like something out of a movie. It was fantastic. I will never forget that.
We flew down to Houston, Texas to meet with Ziggy at his deli, Kenny and Ziggy's. Originally, we planned to just get a story or two from him to hear about life in the deli business. But what we got was a lot more.
Can I get 2 side salads, one with raspberry vinaigrette and one with Russian?
And a sub of slaw, please.
We got some really good stuff for an episode, but Ziggy had some other ideas.
At least let's stretch it out. We don't want to get rid of everything in one season.
All right. So for this first episode, we hear about early life in the family business. Here's Ziggy.
When I was first behind the counter, I was like about 14 years old behind the counter, and my dad and my uncle, they had to do something. They were away. And one of our toughest customers, Shirley Levine, I mean, we would tremble hearing that name, Shirley Levine. And she would come in, and she was a ball breaker like you've never had. If the pickles was not sour enough for her, this wasn't lean enough for her, this was, too hot, too cold, not enough salt, not enough pepper, not enough seasoning, you name it, nothing was perfect. So I was shaking when this woman came in. And I said, Mrs. Levine, what can I get for you? She says, where's your father, where's your uncle? I said, they're not here, but I promise you, I will give you whatever you want, and I will take care of you like nobody's business. She says, if you don't do it right, I'm going to tell your father, and I'm going to tell your uncle. She says, I want corned beef, and I want a half a pound. I said, okay. I open up the steamer. I pick out the nicest looking corned beef you have ever seen. It is straight from the chorus. It is beautiful. I start trimming it out for her, make sure there's no veins in it, make sure there is no gristle, and then what did I do? I stuck my fork in there, and I lifted it up before I cut, and I said, is this gorgeous? And she says, what? You have the nerve to show me something like this? I'm going to tell your father, I'm going to tell your uncle, I'm never going to come here again. I said, Mrs. Levine, I'm very, very sorry. I have 8 more corned beefs in the steamer. I will pick you out, anyone that you want. Please, 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 give me another chance. She says, okay. I go, I pull out another one, trim it, everything, show it to her. Again, are you crazy? What kind of person are you? I mean, I'm shaking. To make a long story short, I go through all of the corned beefs in the steamer. She doesn't like any one. She says, I'm going to give you one more chance, and then you're never going to see me ever here again. I pulled the original corned beef that I trimmed out there. She looks at it, she says, now that's gorgeous. How come you didn't show me that one first?
Ziggy basically grew up behind the deli counter, following in the footsteps of his ancestors. It was years later when he would decide to carry the torch and finally take over the family business.
I think the first time, that I was actually in charge, my dad and my uncle, we went to the Deli Man's Association dinner in Howard Beach. And I looked around the room and I saw people, they were, 70, 80 years old. And I said, who's going to perpetuate this business? And at the time, I was working in a 3-star Michelin restaurant called Le Gavroche in London. My dad didn't want me in the deli business, even though I've been doing it since I've been like 8. And I looked around and I said, someone needs to carry this on. Someone needs to continue to do it. So I turned around to my dad and my uncle and I said, look, this is where I need to be. This is where I feel comfortable. And I would like to do this with you and take this to another level. My dad was a little hesitant. My uncle was like, no problem. So my uncle basically threw the keys at me and said, hey, it's all yours, kid. I was about just over 19 years old. And I had a lot of people work there for many years. We had some employees there that were 25 years, 30 years old. And here is this 19-year-old Pisher that has to show he is in charge and he has to run the show with respect to all these people that are a lot older than him. So what I had to do to gain their trust and respect is I had to work harder than everybody else. And for the first 6 months, I was there earlier than anyone. I was the last person that left the store. Then all of a sudden, I really, really got them on my side. And then they would listen to me. And then I could lead them from the front. And I really made my dad and my uncle very proud.
Counterintelligence was produced by Mike Svalin and me, Taylor Magenheim. The show was mixed by the talented Katie Best. Our theme song is L'chaim by Kevin McLeod, and you can find it on Incompetech.com. Special thanks to Ziggy Gruber and my mom, who works at the deli and helps set up these interviews. Also check out Deli Man, a documentary about the inspired operators that keep the great food and tradition of Jewish deli in America alive, featuring our favorite deli owner, Ziggy Gruber. You can get the film on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. And lastly, if you like this series, please subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a rating. It really helps others find this podcast as well. Thanks for listening.